What's up, guys? I'm Tinashe Moyo, and welcome to another episode of Stride. On this channel, my goal is to inspire people to take the first step towards their goals in life using my personal experiences. And in this video, I will be taking you through my journey to becoming the franchise. I know some of you might actually be asking, what the heck is that about? But I guess you just have to follow along in this 3-part series, I hope. So sit back and enjoy. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a story that's been a long time coming. I initially planned on releasing it. I think, is it like a month ago or something? But I guess I needed to prepare for it a little bit more. So I guess now is sort of like the right time to release it. So, anyways, the story is pretty much how I became the franchise. So it's pretty much about my musical journey. I've always been a music fan ever since I was a kid. Unlike some other people, I was never in the church choir ever since I was a kid. I don't know, I don't really have a valid reason why I was never part of the church choir. But anyhow, since I was a kid, I was just a huge fan of music. So I really liked the late king of pop, Michael Jackson. Like, I really loved the guy to the core. My dad, when I was a kid, particularly in grade school, he would always bring videotapes, Michael Jackson videotapes. I think it was at a young age, I think probably grade 3 or something, maybe 97, 96, 97, I think. He introduced me to Moonwalker by Michael Jackson, and it really blew my mind, So I would always watch that videotape. I think I watched that videotape like countless times. That's how hooked I was with Michael Jackson. Like, I even used to, dress like him. So I remember there would be times when I wouldn't focus on my schoolwork just because I wanted to watch Michael Jackson videotapes, because my dad brought a Moonwalker videotape, and then he also brought, I think it was like a compilation, like Michael Jackson's greatest hits. So I'd always watch those videos. So this one time, I actually asked him to watch. So there was this series. I think some of the older folks might know it, called Some Mothers Do Have Them. So my dad was a huge fan of that series. Well, we used to watch that series because of my dad. So I actually went to him and I was just like, Dad, can I please watch Some Mothers Do Have Them? Then he was just like, all right, cool, bro, go watch it. But in my mind, I knew I was just going to watch Michael Jackson. So I think I was like 30 minutes deep into like the whole videotape. And then my dad just walked in the lounge and he saw me like rocking to Michael Jackson. And he was just like, I'm going to burn that videotape. So that's how obsessed I was with Michael Jackson. And I used to, dress like him. I know most Michael Jackson fans, I think even to this day, they're like diehard Michael Jackson fans who still try to dress like him or something like that. So, yeah, it was a crazy time. Like I even used to perform like live shows, but in the garden to the vegetables, that's how crazy I was with both Michael Jackson and just music in general. I would always go into the garden, uh, sing like heal the world to the vegetables. And the funny thing was that there'd always be wind, so the vegetables would actually would actually rock from right to left, just sideways. And then I'd just go like, yeah, let's wave hands, wave hands. I was in a crazy, crazy mood. But then I really, I really enjoyed myself to, such a crazy extent. So, growing up, um, I wasn't much of a singer. I guess I always had confidence issues, right? So I never attended any of these, um, what do you call these? Vocal lessons or things like that. I never had any of those things. So regardless of that, I would always try to sing my heart out, be it any song that I enjoyed on the radio or on the TV. I'd always try my best to do that. I think I was more proficient in mimicking performances than, than songs, like singing actually. So I didn't really do much in grade school, but then 2002, I went to high school. So it was a boarding school, Bernard Mizeki College. And as soon as I got to the school, I think I, I was still adapting to the whole situation. So I think the thing that I got introduced to early on was Scripture Union. And Bernard Mzeki, the good thing was it was an Anglican school. So my upbringing, I grew up in the Anglican church. So at least it made sense for me. So I was introduced to Scripture Union, and knowing my background as a kid who grew up in church, I was like, okay, I'd love to go to Scripture Union, at least fellowship with different people. So there at Scripture Union, that's where I was introduced to two groups. There was the choral group and then the choir. So these groups were different, a little bit different in their own way, in the sense that the choir was like the main group that would sing in church, and like on Wednesdays, the choir was the one responsible for singing the national anthem. I really don't know why it was like that, but anyway, that's how it was. And then the choral group was a group, I think, that was more fun, or should I say, less red tape. It was a group that was focused on choruses. Of course, it's Christian songs, right? But it was a group that involved a lot of loosening up compared to choir, because choir was more about Anglican hymns and all of that. Well, choir was just as fun as the choral group, but then the choral group, you could do so many different things. You could go crazy. You could dance during the sessions and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed all of those things. So I think early on at Bernard Mizeki College, I used to come across people just asking me like, "Hey, are you Lance's younger kid? I mean, not younger kid, younger brother." I was like, "Lance, who's Lance?" So I kept on getting the same question. Are you related to Lance? Are you related to Lance? And it so happened that um, Lance was pretty much a prominent dude in high school, and Lance was actually the choral master. I think I started knowing him. I started knowing him as the vice choral master. So I was just like, I need to find Lance. Like, I need to know this guy. I really need to see this guy, because when people would ask me about Lance, I would obviously say, oh, yeah, I'm related to Lance, even though I had not seen him. So I had to know him. I had to talk to him to make the whole scene believable. So I got to meet Lance at the choral group, and you know, Lance was pretty much a cool dude. He had this kind of swag. It's like everything just connected with Lance. So I was just like, who wouldn't want to be related to to Lance? So I got to meet up with Lance. We got to understand each other a little bit. And when it came to singing, Lance was a beast. Even in scripture union, Lance would really kill, you know? So I was just like, yeah, yeah, this dude is on a different level. So I think during those times, uh, I always had this goal of being at least a choral master or a choir master one day, because of how Lance used to conduct things. So I would often ask the either the choir master or the choral master to at least conduct just one song. It actually took a little bit of time for them to gain my trust, but at least as time went on, we got to understand each other a little bit more, and I ended up getting a chance to conduct a song, and it was a really, really good experience. It was like my way of preparing myself for the actual role. So I enjoyed it. People actually enjoyed it. Like, yeah, this is really interesting. Like, this is your thing. And then I was just like, yes, we're doing it. So it's like along the way, along the way, um, I noticed that Lance started to spend a little bit more time with a guy called Mnyaradzi Takafakari, but he was better known as Basta. So I think from here on out, if I'm going to mention him again, it's just going to be Basta. So he started spending more time with Basta. With Basta, we were the same stream, same dormitory. So I actually started noticing, like, okay, Lance is seeing Basta more. Okay, that sounded wrong, but you get my point. Lance is visiting Basta more than he used to visit me. I'm like, why is that happening? You know? And then it turned out that they were actually preparing a push for Basta to become the vice choral master. So in a way, I actually fell out of favor, and I somehow became jealous, because I was just like, man, I had been working so hard to get to a point where people could actually trust me, and like, okay, this will be the next phase of the choral group, you know? But I don't know. It's like the tables just turned on me, and I was just like, man, this is really tough. It was like a tough pill to swallow for me, if I'm to be honest with you guys. So elections to like set up the committee for the choral group always happened at the scripture union. So I think before that, I actually got to speak to Buster and was just like, oh, so what's your deal with Lance? Like acting all concerned. And he was just like, oh, man, they wanna make me the vice choral master, but I don't want it. So I was just like, okay, did you tell them that you don't want it? Then he was just like, yeah, I did. I communicated, but I don't know if these people are gonna listen to me. And I was just like, all right, we'll see how it goes. So Scripture Union, the election day, I was present, but Buster was not present. And because he didn't want to be part of the whole thing. So when people were calling out the names of the people that were elected, they got to the vice choral master part. They called Buster's name. Buster wasn't anywhere to be found. And then Lance ascended from the vice choral master to the choral master. And so, me being the guy who always dreamed to be the choral master, I stood up and went to the guy who was conducting the whole elections. And I went and whispered in his ear, and I was just like, bro, Buster said he doesn't want to be the vice choral master. So yeah, you have to do something about it. And then the guy was sort of like a no-nonsense type of guy, a chap. And then he was just like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to force him. And then I actually felt my heart, shattering in that moment. Like, I thought if I say this, like if he looks at me, he's actually gonna understand, like, oh, okay, this was the guy who was actually getting the push at first. So why not take this guy instead of Buster? But nope. Dude didn't even give a damn about me. So that being that, we went to, I think, the first choral session after the elections. Lance took over, did his thing. We sang a couple of songs, and then he wanted to pass the torch to Buster, to introduce Buster as the vice choral master. And when he did that, people were just going crazy. People were just screaming, clapping hands, yeah. And then Buster was just like, oh man, come on. And in my mind, I was just like, yeah, you gotta say no. You gotta say no. You gotta say no. But what happened? Buster took over, and he just he just went there. So yeah, that was tough. That was tough. That was tough. And then we moved to the choir. I was just like, okay, since I lost to the choral group, to the vice choir master, Buster, maybe I can become the vice. Wait, did I say choir master or choral master? Yeah, whatever. So I was just like, okay, maybe I can at least get my redemption, excuse me, as the vice choir master. Yeah. So along the way, I did what I used to do at the choral group. I'm having a timeout notification real quick. Let me just switch. Okay, I'm back. So I was talking about switching to the choir, right? So since I had lost to, the vice choral master, I was just like, okay, maybe being the vice choir master is what I'm destined to be. So, man, it was actually a tough journey because it's like I did everything. I did everything right. But people started coming in, new people actually. And so I was just like, nah, these people actually they don't matter at all. So when I thought I was going to get the push to be the vice choir master, I noticed that people started pushing a junior student to be part of that post. And I was just like, am I cursed or something? What's really going on here? So, there was this friend of mine called Ronald Zimono. Ronnie, we grew up together. We went to the same primary school, and we were also at Bernard Miziki College together. So Ronnie was just someone I really liked as a friend, as a brother. He was just cool, and I respected him so much. Yeah, I haven't seen Ronnie in a very long time, but I really hope and believe that he's doing well wherever he is. Much love to Ronnie. So we always attended choir sessions together. Ronnie attended the Scripture Union, I think, maybe months after I started attending Scripture Union. So he would do certain duties, be it working as an MC or just doing certain different performances. So by being as active as he was, he ended up being in line for the choir master's post. And guess what? Ronnie actually became the choir master, and I was really, really happy for him. So during the process, I actually thought that I would be Ronnie's vice choir master. But like I said, the junior student ended up taking my position and became the vice choir master. So I've got nothing, even to this day, I've got nothing against that junior student. I ended up being put in a position where I had to be the choir treasurer. That was one position that I didn't even care about at all, if I'm to be honest with you guys. I didn't even care about being the choir treasurer because it wasn't something that I was working towards being. So it really broke my heart again. And then I was just like, man, so what do I do at this point? So shortly after, like I mentioned, at Scripture Union, people would do different things, different activities. Some people would sing, some people would either present, be it doing it as a sharing or something. So I was just like, maybe I could form a group, a musical group, right? So that I can at least find my relevance again, so that people can actually see how relevant I am. So I ended up forming a group with me, Ronnie, and another friend of mine. Yeah, the group was short-lived. It didn't even get to see the light of day when it came to Scripture Union. And the unfortunate part was that we didn't really have any original songs. We would just sing songs that people had already sung at Scripture Union. And I myself wasn't even original. I was just trying to be someone else. So it didn't really work out, and we just dissolved the group. And then I ended up joining another group. I think this group already had like four guys already. One of the most notable guys that were in that group, or that was in that group, was a guy named Geoffrey Maniere. but I'll just go with the name Joe. So I think Joe pretty much came to Scripture Union, I think right around at the same time Ronnie started coming to Scripture Union. And he made an instant impact because Joe had just had this aura. This guy was just cool. He was composed. It was just different, So he performed, I think the first time people actually got to know Joe, he actually performed with three other guys. I think it was a song called Lean on Him. And I mean, Joe completely lacerated the song. He nailed the song. You could see people applauding, like, yo, this guy is really good. And, me being who I am, I was just like, man, I wish I was that guy. Because Joe had just, man, I really can't explain how Joe was, but Joe was just amazing. He was just an amazing person to be around. And, I just respected him so much. Even to this day, I respect him so much. We were not the best of friends, no hard feelings, but overally, he was just a good dude. He was just a real dude, Now, this is not to say all these other guys were made out of Legos. No, but Geoffrey was just exceptional. And I just want to take this time, like, Joe, if you ever get a chance to watch this video, I just want to let you know that from the bottom of my heart, you made a huge difference in my life. You've been someone that, I think the world really, really needs. And wherever you are, I hope God keeps protecting you and gives you more life. With Joe, it's like I haven't spoken to him in a very long time, but I noticed that he's liked a few of my posts when I'm announcing a new video, so I know he's doing okay. So, yeah. The second time Joe performed at Scripture Union, he performed a song called it was called "So the White," if I'm not mistaken. And again, he dominated that song. And I was just like, man, this dude is amazing. So I was just like, since the group was already gaining traction, I need to be a part of that group. So I actually spoke to Joe, and he was just like, yeah, cool, you can come join the group. Joe being Joe, the cool guy that he was, I ended up joining the group, but I guess some of the guys really didn't pay attention to me, So I was just like, yeah, I kind of felt out of place. And I think there was a time we actually practiced a couple of songs because the guys had asked for permission to perform during assembly, because it was a thing where on Mondays the choral group would perform, and then on Wednesday, as I said earlier, the choir would perform the national anthem. So the guys got permission to perform on a Monday, and so we rehearsed songs, and so we performed on Monday. And I think during that time, I had no vocal projection. You couldn't really hear my voice when I would sing. So after the performance, people would just be like, ah, man, we didn't even hear your voice. Like, were you even supposed to be amongst that group? So instead of me gaining confidence from all of that, it actually affected me even more. Like, man, I'm not even wanted in this group. So The group ended up disbanding, not because of personal differences, but I guess it was just a thing where, yeah, the people just needed to do their own thing. I think we just needed to focus on one goal, which was just performing in the choir and choral group. So the group ended up, you know, disbanding. So I think shortly after that, that's when I transferred from Bernard Mizeki. So I was at Bernard Mizeki from 2002, and then I transferred at the end of 2004. Then, you know, in 2005, I went to Phoenix College. Man, I never enjoyed that place. I think if you've seen a couple of my episodes, when I mention Phoenix College, yeah, you know this conversation. I never enjoyed that place at all. And it seems like on some of my conversations, it somehow just rears its ugly head back into my life just to give me a hard time. But yeah, anywho, uh, yeah, Phoenix College, there was no choir, there was no choral group, nothing like that. Because this was a different era now. You had different people who vibed to like the actual secular music, uh, music like R. Kelly's stuff, all of that crazy stuff. So that's when I was introduced to Eminem. So I knew Eminem from the time I was at Bernard Mizeki, but I never really paid attention to him. But with the guys that were around at Phoenix College, these were the guys that introduced me to Eminem, and I immediately fell in love with Eminem. So I had a couple of friends at that school who would they would move around with these old Discman. So I was just like, man, this stuff looks really cool. I'd love to have something like that, you know? So some of the guys that stayed in my hood actually had that, but then they were just like, if you want it, we can trade with your PlayStation 2. Man, I was dumb at that point, and I was just like, all right, cool, because I wanted to look cool. So I exchanged my PlayStation 2 for a CD player, and I think I had that CD player for a week so that I could listen to different kinds of stuff from Eminem, from, R. Kelly. Because I think during that time, that's when the industry music was really buzzing with, people like Cassidy, Bow Wow, Little Romeo. So in turn, I think with the people I ended up hanging out with, they actually contributed to some of the bad habits that I developed, because I ended up trying out weed. Yeah. Uh, it's actually a secret most people don't know. Because you'd always see like people, Cassidy, Bow Wow, just rolling and smoking weed on the TV. So I'd just be like, oh, that's cool. Maybe that's something that can actually make people see me as a cool person. Uh, but I'm just glad that I actually didn't go further with it. I wasn't addicted to it at all. It was just an experience that I was just like, okay, let me see how this feels. Because if I had been addicted, I probably would have turned into the late Macho Man Randy Savage. And I actually mean in the sense that, um, when you smoke weed, have you, like, I'm sure you've heard people who smoke weed, like the way they speak, especially after like inhaling, it's like you just go like, "Ooh, yeah."
Oh yeah!
No disrespect to Macho Man. I I respect the dude, but this was just something I just wanted to, to get out of my system. So yeah, it is crazy. But regardless of that, my love for music never never really stopped. Uh Thankfully 2005 ended and I moved away from Phoenix College. So I transferred, and then um 2006, 2007, I think late 2006, 2007, at a different school. That's when I came across uh, this artist called Lloyd. And I immediately fell in love with that guy. All thanks to his song called You featuring Lil Wayne. That song was just amazing. A big summer song. And then I was just like, yeah, I think this is my jam. This is my stuff. And I think I started to resonate with R&B more because I always considered myself a guy that has more to do with matters of the heart, you know? Because I didn't really see myself, I actually never saw myself as a gangster. So I think that's why hip hop really didn't resonate with me. I still listen to hip hop to this day, but R&B has always been at my core, and all thanks to a guy called Lloyd. And there was even guys like Bobby Valentino with a song called Slow Down. So I was just like, yeah, I'm really like having the time of my life. And then I got his full album, Street Love, I think in 2007. And I would play that album every single day. So because of the fact that I was able to resonate with R&B, I would actually use some of the lines from that song to, make some girls feel good. And it actually worked. To my surprise, it actually to a certain extent, I'm sure. And yeah, I was just enjoying myself. And I even came across Justin Timberlake as well, because Justin Timberlake was like really big at that time with his album called Future Sex Love Sounds. He had like one of the biggest hits called, was it My Love? Yeah, My Love, featuring T.I. And What Goes Around Comes Around. So it was just like, oh, now this is my stuff. This is what I feel I was, born to listen to, born to vibe to. So I really, really enjoyed that music. So that was 2006, 2007. And then in 2008, Lloyd released another album called Lessons in Love. And man, it just turned my world upside down, started seeing things differently, like, yo, I'm really enjoying myself. That same year, 2008, I got to meet the guy, the man, I think that I've mentioned in some of my episodes. I'm sure you've heard the name. Definitely not Paddington. Definitely not. This guy, he's called Warren H. And we end the episode here. This is where it gets interesting. Now, if you want to know how interesting it gets, stay tuned for part 2, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.